Super Smash Bros. Melee. What a perfect game. No characters worth banning, lots of stages to play on, so perfectly balanced. Which remained true until one character came along and ruined everything. Well, technically, two characters came along and ruined everything. These are the Ice Climbers in Melee. Man, I love Melee. The gameplay, the sound, the aesthetic. It's timeless. But you know, after 20 years without an update, maybe it's time to try a redesign. Okay, this is epic. I wonder if my browser can do the same thing. Whoa. This is Opera GX. It's a browser specifically designed for gamers with more customization options than anything else on the market. With GX mods, you can tailor your browsing experience to be whatever you want it to be. Check this out. It's the GX Boy mod, and it lets you take a trip down memory lane. Custom background music? Check. Game Boy inspired keyboard sounds? Check. These iconic noises when opening and closing your tabs? Double check. The GX Boy mod is visually stunning too. It's got its own theme, colors, and a dedicated wallpaper. And you can use the sidebar to easily choose which features you want to be active and which ones you want to save for later. GX Boy is just one of so many mods you can choose from. Just head over to the GX store to explore a wide variety of mods from your favorite franchises. Plus, their mods are available for free. Opera GX will help you stay up to date with free games, the newest releases, and breaking news, so you'll never miss a sale again. To top it all off, Opera GX is integrated with all of your favorite apps. If you're worried about switching to a new browser, don't be. Opera GX is equipped with an import tool that allows you to transfer your browser history, bookmarks, and cookies from your previous browser, and it's compatible with every Google Chrome extension. Just click, 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 and you're all set up. If you're a gamer, Opera GX is simply the best browser you can choose. Thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring this video, and use our link in the description below to download Opera GX today. Ice Climbers are probably the most unique character in Melee. They're two individual characters, both with their own percents, controlled by a single player. There's the primary climber, known as Popo, and a secondary climber, aka Nana. You input commands to the primary climber, and the secondary mimics their actions 6 frames after, most of the time. When the two characters get knocked away from each other, the secondary becomes sentient, in that they get taken over by the CPU until the couple gets back together. Feeding into this character design, many of the Ice Climbers' moves are dependent on keeping the two characters together. Their up B, Belay, and side B, Squall Hammer, go considerably farther when the Ice Climbers are within range of each other, and are actually kind of sad when they're separated. Blizzard goes 2 ways rather than 1, and of course, being hit with 2 hammers does twice as much damage. When competitive Melee was in its infancy, Ice Climbers had an immediate impact on the meta, for the sole reason that if you load 4 Ices into Fountain of Dreams, this happened, leading to the stage being banned in doubles. In singles, they were considered solidly mid-tier. In 2002, they were ranked 11th on the official SSBM tier list, then 12th, 13th, 15th, and 18th. The character, while boasting decent damage output, has some glaring weaknesses. They have fairly short range, meaning they get poked and beaten out by disjointed hitboxes. If they get separated, they can be punished incredibly hard by most of the top tiers, namely Fox and Captain Falcon. Come on! And they struggle incredibly hard against aerial characters, specifically Jigglypuff and Peach. There were a few players who found success with the character, Chudat being the first who comes to mind, as he was ranked solidly in the top 10 from 2004 to 2008. But for the most part, Ice Climbers were an anomaly at big tournaments. But then, something happened. In 2004, Ices were ranked 15th, but by the end of 2006, they were ranked 7th. A huge jump. So what happened? Well, the first was the discovery of desyncs. If the primary climber is occupied in some way, in an attack animation, a dash animation, or even shield broken, and the secondary climber is within a certain range, the player gains momentary control of the secondary climber until the primary is back to normal. This is called a desync. There are lots of ways to set up desyncs. The easiest is to spot dodge. If, during the spot dodge animation, you hold A or B or jump or pretty much anything else, the secondary climber will buffer that move, but the primary climber will not. So, if you spot dodge and hold B, the secondary climber will shoot an ice block, and during that animation, you control only the primary climber. Then, if you press B again, the primary climber will shoot an ice block, during which time you are in control of the secondary climber instead. Make sense? Once the climbers are desynced, you can play this game of leapfrogging between the two pretty much forever. And it opens up a library of new techniques for the ice climbers. There's the nanopult, where you launch Nana like a sack of potatoes. You can set up guaranteed edge guards, where the two climbers work together to cover every available option, and you can even make Nana do this just to flex on your opponent. And there are lots of ways to set up desyncs. You can roll, you can dash dance, you can wave dash to ledge, but the most important is when you land a grab. Because once you've got a hold of your opponent, you can make sure they never get out again. Wobbling is an infinite technique performed by the ice climbers and the main reason for their meteoric rise in the meta. The technique was discovered early in the game's history. The exact date is unknown. Rumor has it that Chudat was wobbling back in 04. Yeah! Some say it was discovered by old school legends Kish Prime and Kish Squared. What we do know is that the technique didn't get its official name until one player, Robert Wright, used it to earn 9th at NCT2 in 2006. His tag, Wobbles, was from that point on inextricably tied to the technique of wobbling. So how does wobbling work? Basically, if a character is grabbed and also in hit stun, they won't be released from the grab until the hit stun animation is finished. A common tactic in doubles is to have two players alternate hits to keep an opponent locked into the grab and finish with a kill move once they're at a high enough percent. The same principle works with ices. You grab with the main climber, wait until the secondary climber is in range, then pummel once with A, buffer a forward tilt or down tilt with the secondary climber to desync them, and continue pressing A at a tempo of 200 BPM. If you're having trouble, just sing Through the Fire and Flames. If done correctly, congratulations. You've just broken Melee's competitive rule set. So obviously, this technique is busted. But it's not completely game-breaking. After all, the ice climbers have to land a grab, not so easy with their stubby little arms. Both climbers have to be in range of each other, so if you keep them separated, they're significantly less of a threat, and the opponent has to be at a high enough percent that they can't instantly mash out. For many, wobbling gave ices the boost they needed to be competitively viable. And although the technique is kind of cheap, there is an argument that a more diverse cast of characters is good for the health of any game. Of course, not everyone shared this optimistic view, but for the most part, wobbling was banned on a case-by-case basis at the discretion of regional TOs. It wasn't until 2013 that wobbling became a larger talking point, due solely to a single tournament run. In 2013, Melee was included as a main title at EVO, and on the biggest stage in fighting games, wobbling would be legal. With the stage set, Wobbles went on to have the single greatest Cinderella run in Melee history, doing something no one had ever done before. He beat 3 gods in a row. He took out Mango to qualify for top 8, destroyed PPMD in winners semis, and then took down Hungrybox in a matchup that is widely considered unwinnable for ice climbers, securing his spot in the winner's side of grand finals. Although he lost to Mango in the runback, Wobbles made Melee history in front of the largest crowd the game had ever seen, using an incredibly controversial technique. In short, things were about to get messy. Like we said, up until now, wobbling had been banned on a case-by-case basis. Some regions had it legal, others didn't. In 2018, the Melee Backrooms, which was sort of a de facto governing body, basically all the decision makers and TOs on Smashboards, came to a 25-4 decision that wobbling wasn't overpowered, and many argued that without the technique, ice climbers would be unviable. Still, it became clear that a ruling on wobbling had to go one way or the other. The main reason being that in regions where wobbling was banned, players don't get to practice against the technique. So, when they show up to a major where wobbling is legal, they often don't have the experience to deal with it. This was part of the reasoning for one of Wobbling's staunchest opponents, Juggle Guy, legalizing the technique. The head TO of the Big House announced that he would be unbanning Wobbling on May 13th, 2015, and finally, Ices were free. Not long after, the floodgates opened. Now that Ice Climber's strongest tool was legal across the board, Ice Climbers began regularly making deep runs at major tournaments. At Genesis 3 in 2015, Nintendo beat Shroomed.
Look at this. And the automatic concede.
West Balls, and Mewtwo King on his way to top 8. At Pound 2016, a relatively unknown Ice Climbers main named Infinite Numbers made a huge run to 9th place, wobbling Alex19, Mac D, and Mike Hayes. By the end of the year, Diz Kid Boogie was ranked in the top 30 with wins over Wizrobe, Nun, Mac D, Silent Wolf, S2J, and Duck. On the summer 2017 SSBM rank, Chudat came in at a staggering 7th, after several tournaments where he wobbled his way through the likes of Wizrobe, SFAT, Mewtwo King, and Mango, and he finished off the year ranked 11th.
Wow! Mango. Oh, man.
Heading into 2018, players like Army and Drunk Sloth started making names for themselves, and Bananas, who went unranked in 2017, was the 19th best player in the world by the end of 2018. Seriously, that is an unheard of debut. So, as pros voiced their displeasure about the technique, it took a while before the conversation reached a boiling point. After all, the character still had glaring flaws, and players like Hax, Armada, and Hungrybox showed that the character could be straight up invalidated if the matchup was played correctly.
Alright, man!
Still, the term wobbler was being thrown around like a slur, and top players were fed up with having to fight such a tedious matchup that felt antithetical to Melee's dogma. Melee has long been lauded for having a plethora of defensive options. Every time you get hit, you can SDI and ASDI, you have the option to crouch cancel and AMS attack, you can mix up your DI to escape combos and survive kill moves. With wobbling, there was none of that. You get grabbed, you pick up your phone and send a salty tweet, and then you start the next stock.
Let's see what he sent out. I'm getting wobbled in my favorite game. What do I do?
Wow,
in real time.
Really?
In real
my
time.
God.
He definitely tweeted.
This was a big part of Juggle Guy's original reasoning against the technique. It hypersimplifies the game and is especially degenerate at lower skill levels where players aren't good enough to deal with Ice Climbers. Plus, at the top level, matchups turn into this. So, by 2019, wobbling was seriously affecting Melee. Players were expressing outward frustration online and in person, and even refusing to attend events. In terms of numbers, broadcast viewership went down significantly when a wobbler was on stream. So, a compromise had to be reached. Starting in the Pacific Northwest, with Washington, Oregon, Alberta, and British Columbia, wobbling would be banned. Ice Climbers would be allowed 8 pummels per grab, after which the opponent must be ejected from the grab, whether by throwing or hitting them. Obviously, not everyone was happy with this decision, especially the Ices mains who built their playstyle around wobbling. But there was no doubt that a majority of Melee players, viewers, and fans were happy with the new rule set. Plus, it opened up a whole new playstyle for the Ice Climbers, one that's way cooler. While it's hard to separate Ice Climbers from wobbling, there were a number of Ices players in the mid-2010s who found great success with the character without using the technique. The two most notable were Fly Amanita and, ironically, Wobbles himself. Fly Amanita, widely considered to have the best Sopo in the world, just could not get the hang of wobbling, so he used a different technique instead: handoffs. Handoffs are like the stylish, more technically demanding cousin of wobbling, and were pioneered by Wobbles, of all people. Rather than locking a character into a grab with hit stun, handoffs involve repeatedly throwing the opponent and catching them with the other climber.
Oh my goodness!
The frame window is tight, and the timing can differ based on the weight of the opponent's character, but if done correctly, it can also guarantee a kill. Here's how it works. Step 1, get a grab. Step 2, throw the opponent forward or down. Step 3, get a frame-perfect regrab with the other climber. Step 4. Repeat until death. Unfortunately, handoffs only guarantee a kill if you're near the edge of the stage. This is because anywhere else on the stage, the secondary climber will throw in a random direction, meaning you have to react or straight up guess where your follow-up will be. Only near the ledge will the secondary climber always throw forwards, meaning you can do this.
Disgusting.
And it's way more fun and dynamic than just getting a grab and wobbling anywhere on the stage. And with wobbling now illegal, handoffs became essential. When the new rule set first went into effect, it looked like the character had been nuked into oblivion. But really, it just took some time for Icy's mains to adjust. The most notable is Slug, who, during COVID, mastered every tool in the Ice Climber's arsenal and had a breakout year in 2022. Handoffs, tech traps, exploiting the hit stun of having 2 shields rather than 1, optimized edge guards, you name it.
Nice tech chase again by Slug.
Oh! Slug.
Oh!
What?
Yo! He sets up a desync so he can cover both platforms.
Nice.
In 2022, he took down Zane, Mango, Jmook, and Leffen, and was ranked 9th at the end of the year. That same year, Lunar Dusk had wins over Joshman, Rishi, Moki, and Magi, and it became clear that Ices don't necessarily need wobbling. And without relying solely on the technique, the Ice Climbers meta has been forced to move forward. Without wobbling, their gameplay is significantly more dynamic. There's counterplay to a lot of what they do, and even crowds, who have historically been anti-Ice Climbers, are cheering for the dynamic duo. Overall, Ices feel like they're in a good place right now. They still have their weaknesses, especially against Peach and Puff, but it's clear that taking away wobbling hasn't completely invalidated them. Their meta is becoming more and more fleshed out, and it's exciting to see where they'll be going next. This video is made possible thanks to our wonderful patrons. Massive thank you to everyone on this list, and shout out to B, Pass, Retro, Shampoo, and Yashichi for being Platinum supporters. And an extra special shout out to Cloud, Steph, and Jack for being our Diamond supporters. Thank you guys so much. If you want to talk to us, check out our Discord. If you want to support our channel and get info on unreleased videos, check out our Patreon. If you want to help us out in a different way, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is also appreciated. My name is Jonah, thanks for watching.